What's up, Teen Talk fam? It is your host, B. Shaw, and I'm here with
your boy, The Juice.
Your boy, DJ Day in the building.
Miss KK.
And Deshaun B.
Yes. Joining us now, thank you all for tuning into our show, first of all. Joining us now is Miss Cami, who is an educator, former interim administrator, the founder of Mind Your Books education organization, and CEO of Spiritual and Mind Behavioral Services. She has a lot of data analysis and unique insights behind the Nevada school system. Welcome to the show, Miss Cami. How are you feeling today?
Thank you for welcoming me, and I'm feeling great. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And then would you like to introduce Miss Yolanda?
Yeah, we also have Miss Yolanda on the call. She is one of our community partners. We work together for the greater good of children and families. And Miss Yolanda was born right here in Las Vegas, and she has a lot of experience with working with kids of trauma. She has a background in casinos, and then her spirit wasn't fulfilled, so she said she needed something more. So she has her bachelor's in administration of criminal justice, and she's almost done with her master's, and we celebrate education. She has a human services background of 14 years in the Department of Family Services. And also she is currently with the Department of Juvenile Justice, which is how we connected, because both companies that you just mentioned, Brandon, are preferred providers for the Department of Juvenile Justice.
I have to admit, both of you guys have very impressive backgrounds. And I want to thank you guys again for coming on the show, really. I know you guys have busy schedules, so thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on the show. We appreciate that.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Of course. For the first question, have you seen or do you believe that there's an increase in cyberbullying due to schools being virtual?
There is a potential increase in the educational forums that I follow in both administrators and teachers and parents. I'm not getting an overwhelming response of cyberbullying. Although since we're virtual now, that's probably a likelihood in some instances, but those cases are not always reported. And maybe kids don't understand what cyberbullying looks like, feels like, sounds like. So maybe we could include some social emotional development in what cyberbullying feels like to the victim and what it sounds like coming from the bully.
I definitely agree with that. That's a great answer because we don't always know exactly what is cyberbullying. And so our next question, what are your thoughts about the increase of suicide since all schools have gone online?
Well, that's a very important topic. And this is also where Miss Yolanda and I collide in our work, because there is an increase in mental health, disparity in mental health. And in the Black community, Black and Brown community, we do not fully embrace therapy and counseling. And this is a really important time for that, because the world suddenly is different for all of us. We are suddenly grounded. We are not doing as much, seeing as many people, going as many places as we used to go. And some people cannot handle change, and it could be an undiagnosed symptomatology of mental illness, or it could just be just a natural inclination to not want things to change. So there is an increase in mental illness. So we are seeing that, and we do address that with the work that we do. Miss Yolanda, you can talk a little bit about that, because with the work that we do for Mind Your Books and Spirit and Mind, it's a wraparound for the entire family, for the kids. So we address the therapy piece, we address the academic piece, we address the family piece, and where TPOP comes in, they do an assessment of the 8 domains of family functioning, and I'm going to yield that to Miss Yolanda for TPOP.
Thanks, Ms. Cami. She's correct in what she said. What we do is, in our program, once we receive a referral in regards to children not attending school, we do go out, we connect with the family, and we do an assessment where we look at the functioning of the entire family, because we do realize that when kids are suffering, how it comes to us from truancy and not showing up for school, there's other factors that's going on. There's other things that's going on in the home. And to just to reiterate with the mental health, we are finding that right now with these children being in isolation, being away from their friends and not being able to socialize regularly, that has become an issue. So we do address that in our program. Once it's discovered, it's making sure that the child is whole in regards to not just their education, but to their emotion, to their mental health, to the functioning of their whole family. There may be other things that's going on that we want to make sure that we address. Some of the things that we have found when we go out to the homes and we meet the families is that families are suffering financially. So it's really hard for a child to concentrate on an education when they don't know if they're going to have a place to sleep tonight. So that's one of the things that we do look at our program in regards to helping a family become stable in their housing, helping to identify resources to help them pay bills, to pay utilities, to pay rent, to make sure the child again and the family is functioning as a whole. So one of the things that we do really look at is a child's mental health. Again, Ms. Cami is a partner with us in regards to making those referrals and getting the children the things that they need outside of us. Also making our referrals to the harbor, making sure kids get assessments so that we can fully help the family be able to function.
So there's,
definitely,
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, my bad, go ahead.
So did you want to tell them the 8 domains, or is that?
Sure. The 8
Okay.
domains that we look at in regards to our assessment is we look at the environment of a family, actually what's going around their neighborhood, because that also could be an issue. Kids don't feel comfortable about going outside to play. Parental capabilities. We want to look at the functioning of the parent to see if they're okay, because if I have a parent that's not okay, most of the time the family is not going to be okay because that parent is the backbone of that family. We look at the family interactions. We look at the family safety. That's one thing that's being mandated reporters that we have to look at in regards to families. Child well-being. How is that child doing? How are they doing in school, performing in school? How is their socialization? How's the relationship with their parents? Their social and community life. Right now, that has been disrupted. It's been disrupted by COVID. It's been disrupted about, how the direction that our community and county is going in regards to the shutdowns. We look at self-sufficiency. How is the family holding up again? Like I said, when we're knocking on doors and family is waiting for the constable to lock them out, it's really hard to say, you know what, your child needs to get signed on for school. We take immediate steps to see what we can do to help with that. And then we look at family health. We have a lot of families that's struggling. People are sick from COVID. People are sick from other illnesses that they had prior to the COVID happening. So we make sure that what we can do is try to get families signed up for Medicaid to see if we can get them to doctor's appointments and things like that. So again, it's just really not about focusing on truancy, even though it's what our program is about. It is making sure, again, we're looking at this family as a whole. And those are the 8 domains that we look at the family in regards to functioning.
Mm-hmm.
I really like how you tapped into it's not just the truancy. It's not only about school. There's a lot of other influence in these students' lives, such as family, money, and many more aspects. So it's important that we encourage therapy so these families and students can get the help that they need. Deshaun, I know you have something to say. Speak what's on your mind.
Yes, I have a question to Miss regarding what Miss Yolanda just said about the 8 different domains of that. When it comes to that kind of being disrupted, how does that affect the relationship between the student and the teacher? Is it somebody that's kind of relaying the information to the teacher so they're able to really cope and understand what's going on with the student? Or is that something that kind of stays between the parent and the social worker or the program itself?
That is a great question, Deshaun, because what we do in our program is we report back to the school. So what happens is when we go out to the home and we see what's happening with the family, we do report back to the school so the school can be used as a support. So a lot of times school, they don't know what's happening. The only thing that tell us is that the child is not showing up for school. So when we say, hey, this is what's going on in the home, this is what we found, then we can latch on with the school for them to become a support. So then they can know what's going on and you're just not looking at it as a truancy issue with the children. So that is a great question. And yes, we do, because we do communicate fully with the schools.
And I'm glad to know that because I noticed that the education system has definitely changed from when I was in school. We didn't have any programs that really looked into our truancy. They were just sending parents to jail and making them pay fines. And I'm glad to know that that's definitely improved because I never would have thought to look into the 8 different domains of why a student is truant. I just look at the fact that they was late or they didn't show up.
Right, absolutely. And one thing about our program is that we are a diversion program. So what we do is we do our best not to get the family caught up in the system at all. What we've even asked Department of Family Services to do is if they have a child that they possibly can refer to us and we can help them prior to that, or the school before they call in a educational neglect report, because what we really want to do is to be able to help the family before the families get caught up in the system. So we are a diversion program. So that's why we really look at how we can help the family function and move forward, have them to be able to stand up and support themselves. We don't want to become crutches. We want to become supports for the families.
Mhm.
So absolutely, that's what we do in regards to this program. And I'm so glad you talked about not having a program, because we are a very new program. We actually just started in October. We've actually taken over 1,800 referrals. And we've serviced over 1,600 families just in that short period of time. So you do see that there is a need for the program in the community, and we are doing our best to service all those families that come across.
So TPOP focuses on the domains of family functioning, and where Mind Your Books collides with that is the truancy part is important, because the trauma that you young people are going through doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the adults around you and the choices that they have made. So part of what we do is try to encourage you to focus on your own personal growth. So we're more directed towards self-encouragement and self-empowerment, because the work is yours to do. You might look at Miss Cami and say, oh, what does she know? Miss Cami is from the hood. I'm from Chicago. Okay. And it was education that turned my story from rags to riches, because I was a HUD kid. I was evicted all the time, from school to school, from house to house, no shoes, no clothes, no food. And I said, nope, I'm not living this life. And so the only thing that saved me from the choices of the adults in my life was to go full throttle on personal development. And that's why I'm such a strong advocate for education, because it truly is a game changer. If you don't like where you are, if you don't like what you're dealing with, if you don't like how you feel when you get up in the morning, if you're not happy with your environment, I would encourage you young folks to understand that there is more to life than what has been presented to you due to the choices of the adults in your life. And we love our adults, we do, as kids. And so we're thinking that this is all that there is, but there is more. There is more. And so as TPOP addresses the domains of the family, Mind Your Books, we assess academically. So the same way TPOP is searching for the deficit in the whole family that's causing the child to fail, we address it from a therapeutic standpoint, and we also address it from using the same assessments that they use in CCSD and in charter schools, the NWEA, and I know all of you know all about that, where you have to take that English test, that science test, that math test. So we run that assessment so we can see exactly where the deficit is academically. And then all of that is part of the family action plan and the treatment plan that we put forth for you young kids. So what we do is, if you're deficit in math, we enroll you in Mathnasium, and we cover the cost of that so that you kiddos can get stronger math instruction. And we also work with all of the academic domains from pre-K all the way through post-grad, because a student is a lifelong, it's a lifelong quest, it's a lifelong job. So please don't ever think that graduation is a milestone to stop learning and growing yourself. It's just the beginning, okay? So take all of your lumps and understand that it gets greater later. Don't give up based on other people's shortcomings and failures. Dig into yourself, educate yourself, go beyond what the teacher is asking you to do. Show up for yourself in your own life so that you can say no to poverty, no to welfare, no to being poor. Those are choices, okay? And you are young enough to make that decision, and you are young enough to make that change. And you guys are obviously an excellent group of young kids to be thinking along these lines, because a lot of your peers are not thinking about grown-up topics, how to do better, how to be better, how to have more in this life. Because you're Black and brown doesn't mean that poverty is your birthright. It is not, okay?
I agree with that 100%. And, you know, you do not have to feel trapped at all, because there always is a way out, and it's important that we inform these people so there's a way that we can help them get out.
Yes.
Um, as a former interim administrator,
Mhm.
what are some mental health barriers that you notice in students who are failing their classes compared to students who are not?
So there is a disconnect that happens in education. And that disconnect is that teacher in that classroom can have 35 students, and she may not know the mental history on any of them, because there's this imaginary boundary that you have to treat all kids the same. Well, just like adults are not all the same, kids are not all the same, and you all come with a different set of needs. So I have definitely seen kids that do not have mental health support. They struggle in school because that mental health diagnosis could help them get an IEP. That mental health diagnosis could help the teacher understand, why is this little boy crawling under the desk? And instead of yelling at him or suspending him or writing him up, now you understand that he needs that space. So you give him a little space to crawl on the floor in the back of the room so he can do him, and understand that you cannot have strong academics if the symptomatology is taking over the mindset of this young person. And in the Black and Brown community, we are ashamed of our mental diagnoses. Most of us that grew up in the hood are a little bit hood crazy, Miss Cami too. Okay, but I just decided to take my hood crazy and turn it into something that would work for my life, because I got tired of life saying no, no, no. Those were not my choices. I don't want to go to the grocery store and can't buy a whole meal. I don't want that life. And it begins with a decision, and it begins with support systems like Mind Your Books, Spirit in Mind, T-Pop. It begins with these types of programs where we get in the trenches with the families, we get in the trenches with the kids. So not only are we digging for data so we can see where is the disparity, we roll up our sleeves and we sit next to you and we do that work. So when I tell you I'm from the hood, I never parted the hood. I just did better with what I was given in life. So thank you guys for that connection between mental health and school. It is critical.
Of course, yeah, you never fully know what a person's going through. So you're not in the position to be able to punish them or this. You have to really investigate to find more. You've had some amazing ideas. Where can our people at Teen Talk find the unique ideas of Miss Cami?
Well, you guys can reach out to Mind Your Books. You can call 702-761-6567. Extension 1 will take you to Mind Your Books, and extension 2 will take you to Spirit and Mind Behavioral Services. And we do have a staff that is trained in working with children clinically, as well as all of our tutors are licensed teachers and licensed administrators, because the game is so serious right now that we can't have tutors. We need people with pedagogical training to get in there and help with the mental deficit of our Black and Brown kids. We service everybody, don't get it wrong. But just like COVID is affecting our community disproportionately, so is the educational system. And so we come in and we undergird those kids that would normally be left behind, because we're somebody too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on to the show. We learned a lot of stuff today. I know you guys are busy, so thank you for coming out today. Thank you all for tuning into this Teen Talk discussion. Be sure to follow us at Instagram at Teen Talk Vegas 881. And also check us out at teentalkvegas.com.